First things first, how are you?
Good.
Very good, yeah.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that your first gig outside of Ireland was in Amsterdam?
Oh, it's the Paradiso gig.
The script, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was, yeah, the Paradiso, not so far from here.
We played with the script. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, do
Amazing
you remember
venue.
that show?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. We'd never experienced anything like it. It was one. It kind of brought us in our introduction to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And then, am I right in saying that you first tried to cultivate an audience in Ireland and then started looking towards a more international appeal?
I guess so. We just kind of gigged for a couple of years at home until we had this fan base, and we released our EP, our first EP, which was As We Fly South. And radio took to it. We were just an independent band. We were funding everything ourselves. We were driving around in a really, old van.
Yeah.
Barely made it to all the venues, but we made it. It was a tough slog at the start, I suppose. We spent about 3 or 4 years kind of just up and down Ireland, because we live in Dingle, so it's kind of far away from everywhere. So like Dublin's 4.5 hour drive, Donegal is 7 hour drive, Belfast is 7 hour drive.
Right.
So we did our fair share of travelling.
I think it was good that we got those first couple of years to figure out our sound and our live show, and we made a lot of mistakes, so we were constantly learning. So by the time we kind of started touring outside of Ireland, we were just a bit more confident in our abilities and even just our performance wise, and just how to work together as a band on the road.
So you kind of had to pay your dues first and then...
I think so, yeah. I'm glad that we did it at home first, because obviously, I don't know, there wasn't as much at stake because we weren't so far away from home. It wasn't as expensive, to tour around Ireland because it's small enough. I'm kind of glad that we got that time in beforehand, because by the time we've come out into the rest of Europe, we're a lot more confident.
Is there one memory that sticks out from that period? Maybe a gig or something?
Oh, Billbone races.
Billbone races, that was a tough one, yeah.
Okay.
We did a gig on a trailer at a horse race.
On a beach.
On a beach.
Yeah.
And every time we might play a few songs, and then the race would start, so your man with the microphone would say, "Shut up!"
Yeah.
So we'd have to stop playing, and then the horses would run, and then when the race was over, we'd have to start again. Yeah, it was pretty miserable.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
In terms of the music then, was it already like what you're doing now? Was it during that first EP, during that time, or even before?
Yeah.
I guess it was. It was kind of like, I suppose we didn't really know our sound. I think the songwriting hasn't changed a lot.
No.
It's still quite raw, I guess. But over the years, I guess we've kind of got into like sounds and synths and where things should go and stuff.
I think at that time that was probably like the foundations of the album in terms of a lot of the songs that we wrote, because there was no pressure, and obviously the songs evolved over the few years as we were playing them live, and then when we went to the studio. But that was kind of at a time when we were just writing songs and playing them and kind of learning, and we'd go back to the studio then after playing a gig and say, "Do you know what, that part of the song didn't work, let's kind of rework this part." And yeah, it was a learning process.
Was there maybe a song then that where you kind of felt like, okay, now we have what we were going for, now we've kind of found our sound?
Was there a song?
Maybe one that was a catalyst for what would come after.
I think we were never really sure was the band going to work until we had written Catch Me If You Can.
Okay.
I think.
Why weren't you sure?
Because it was such an early time, we were together maybe 2 years, it could have went that way. We didn't know how people were going to perceive us. Were they going to hate us, love us, ignore us, But when we released Catch Me If You Can, as an independent band, it's unusual for radio to get involved. And so radios all over Ireland started playing the song, and we started going to places where we thought nobody knew us, and everybody knew all the words, so it was like, okay.
Yeah.
We kind of had that kind of moment a few times, like, okay, this is happening.
Definitely. And I think even when we wrote the song, it actually took about 6 months to come together. We had the idea, but we just couldn't find the right direction for 6 months, and then one day it was like bam, out of nowhere, and once it came together we were like, yes, this is where it's gotta be.
And then did the songwriting become easier after that?
It didn't really change. It meant that we had to up our game, I think, because we had this song that was kind of up here, and we had a lot of songs that were kind of not so amazing. So I think our standards got higher, and we kind of probably put a bit more pressure on ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
So we argued a lot in the rehearsal room to I suppose to get those songs to a higher level in terms of like just arrangements, structures, lyrics, everything, kind of getting everything kind of just where they need to be. But yeah, and we kind of still do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
And then that was a couple of years ago, and your album has been released only this year.
Yeah.
So how come the time in between?
Well, we didn't have a fan base anywhere else in the world, only at home. So we had to do a lot of touring the last couple of years just to go out to people in Europe and say hello, we're here. We went to the US for a couple of weeks, just kind of introduce ourselves to different territories. And yeah, it's been frustrating because we've had the album recorded for like 18 months.
Yeah.
And so we just, we'd love to just get it out there as soon as we could, but strategically it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we waited, because now we're going into all these different territories and people know the songs.
Is that difficult? Because you say that the album was finished almost a year ago or so, and I assume you continue writing. So do some of the songs on the album feel old?
Not really, in a way, because when we recorded them in the studio, a lot of the elements that we brought were new. And we never played the whole album to a crowd that knew all the words. So I think when people fall in love with the songs, it brings a new lease of life to them, for us even performing them.
When people start singing the songs back, and that's kind of only really started to happen recently since the album came out, because before that there was only a couple of songs on YouTube or whatever. So now people are singing back like Flying High, Falling Low, A Ship Goes Down, Next to Me. It's kind of like, whoa, okay. So the songs are obviously connecting with people, and even though I suppose they're old, but they're still new to everybody else. So that kind of, it gives us a bit more confidence with them.
Do you rediscover things in the songs, and maybe even based on interpretations you hear from others?
I guess so. Yeah, I remember we played Speeding Cars up in Belfast, and some guy said to me after the show, he was like, "Oh, is that chorus? Do you listen to like world music?" And I was like, "No, I don't," but it kind of makes sense that it sounds like that, kind of like an Indian. But usually it's kind of not really.
Yeah, I suppose one thing is we're slowly but surely kind of incorporating elements from the record, the recorded versions that we wouldn't have played before. So we're kind of, say there are some synth sounds that would have been added in the studio that weren't there in the writing process. So it's interesting kind of adding those bits and trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to make this work? Everyone is playing something, but we need this sound in. So just trying to figure out ways of adding those little sparkly bits. Yeah, we're still trying to do that. You know, it'll take time.